I just want to get your reaction to that. That surprised me a little bit when the question came. I didn't know what she was going to say. She seemed fairly enthusiastic. She seemed to have a confident body language, but I'm not the expert. What did you see?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. What we see there in that moment, the question may have surprised her, yet there's no hesitation. She looks right at Dana Bash and says, yes, I would. And then people are asking, well, is she possibly deceiving us because she's looking up? That could just be a moment of she's reflecting on who it might be. She even flashes a little contempt, not at the idea of having a Republican, but at the question of like, who's it going to be? Because she's much more focused on the election. So that's a very quick kind of move. And it's a lot of people will do that when they're thinking, who might it be? She's looking up to the air to pull in who it may be. So it's not a sign of deception.
Okay, so there was another opportunity where she was asked about fracking. This is one of the issues where her policies have changed over the years. She had a similar body language. She sort of turned to her right a little bit. I want to play it for you because I want to get your reaction. Here it is.
Right.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate.
So it looked like she turned a little bit, maybe to the other side, actually, but her eyes kept on looking down. She wasn't making eye contact with the anchor. Your take on that?
Well, Elizabeth, part of her baseline, that meaning how she normally carries herself. So whether she's on Jimmy Kimmel or she's on a panel discussion talking about reproductive rights, we will see Kamala Harris look down to her left. It's part of her baseline. It's her normal behavior. Earlier in that post, they ask her if she will ban, will she keep fracking legal, and she doesn't look down. She instead, this is the hotspot, she looks right at the camera for emphasis and right at Dana Bash and says, I will keep fracking. I will not ban fracking. Fracking will stay legal. It will always be. I was the person who said the vote in 2020, the deciding vote. She is emphatically emphasizing with eye contact in that moment, fracking is safe if I become president of the United States.
Okay, so your takeaway is that she was very honest during this conversation.
Yeah, in that moment, it's the opposite, right? Now, she was on the other side of that issue, and then she's using this reference. She stays open as she's sharing it with us. The other thing, Elizabeth, is that one of the things she does is it's verbal fluency. She stays fluent in her vocabulary, and when she's speaking, she's not full of ums and ums. This isn't the Lester Holt moment about the border or anything like that. Instead, it's poised, it stops. She makes eye contact with Dana. She's not only letting Dana know, she's letting the people of Pennsylvania know that if she's elected president, she will not ban fracking.
You know, that's really interesting. But of course, there's two sides to every story, right? So let's talk about the other side of the aisle. There was an interview with Jim Acosta and Michael Cohen. We know who Michael Cohen is. And he was talking about how the fact he knew when the former president was lying, that he knew that quite emphatically. Here it is, and I want to get your reaction.
Jim, one of the things that I want you and your viewers to also note is when you see the accordion hands start going, what that means is that he's lying. All right, it's a tell with Donald. Anytime that the accordion hands start, that means he's not telling the truth.
I mean, Chris, he's not the expert, arguably, and I see this movement from the former president a lot. I mean, does that indicate that someone is lying?
Not necessarily, Elizabeth. I mean, Michael Cohen may have had moments with Donald Trump where that was happening and he was lying. But to use that as a baseline of deception, this is not one of Donald Trump's baseline deception moves. If anything, he uses this accordion or this open gesture here to close and open this gesture. This accordion gesture for emphasis. When he gets ruffled, former President Trump, he will use these regulators or these control mechanisms. Hands will go up, and then he'll reframe and try to answer a question. sometimes, and he'll directly answer the part of the question that he wants to answer or create the answer he wants you to hear. That might be happening. We might see the accordion in there, but to say that that is a definitive sign of deception, I have to disagree respectfully with Michael Cohen.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.